This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
Welcome back to another edition of Death, Glory, or Disappointment. I have here with me the beast of business, Mr. Dan Meredith. What is up, my man?
Hey, Jonathan. How you doing, man? Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. Off on a variety of adventures. Obviously, we spoke last time about my little trip to Thailand, so that's all happening. Let's just put it that way. The amount of things that I've done in the last week has been ridiculous. It's got to the point where I think I'm almost going to need to employ someone to just remind me of all the things that I'm doing. It's getting silly. Like a PA for my PA.
I think that's a good thing, right?
I think it's a good thing, yeah. It's like I said, I'm still keeping it simple though, mate. Like I said, balancing that, the highs and the lows, so kind of just consistently doing 3 to 5 things, as I said before, every day. And that's what we're going to talk about today, buddy. It's consistency. Consistency.
So that is something that we always look for in the people that we work with at the Podcast Factory. So, Dan, I want to know, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Go for it.
Are you to be more consistent with this show?
Yes, Jonathan. Yeah, now that we've had the little pause and Dan knows basically what the fuck he's doing and who he is, to be honest with you, because there's a little bit of soul searching in the last couple of months. Yeah, consistency is key. And like I said, since we had our little break, everything in my life, I used to be really anti-structure. And, don't put me in the diary. I'm not going to do this. I'll be a free spirit. Because that's my nature. That's my nature. But then I've realized now that if I have for example, I have themed days now. Monday is like all my admin stuff. Tuesday is coaching and content. So I do my one-to-one clients, my turbo calls, my content delivery, my webinars and stuff, always on a Tuesday. Wednesday and Friday are always half days. So Wednesday is meetings, so in-person stuff or recordings like we're doing now. I'll go and visit people, and then a half day. I do the same on Friday. Friday is a day where I do fun stuff, promotions, basically anything where I may involve selling to a degree, as in anything where I'm connecting with someone because I leverage the Friday feeling. Then weekends, again, have structure for those weekends as well now. It actually does make my life a lot easier because I know every Tuesday is coaching, every Wednesday is content, or every Friday is promotions or sales type meetings. It's just easy. And that way I don't ever misbook anything. Like we were speaking about this podcast, and we're just going to find a day, find a time, and leave it on repeat. No one has to think then. And it actually makes your life a lot easier because when you do have these systems and structure in place and they're not sexy, consistency, system, structure, habits, routines aren't by their very nature unsexy. But they are some of the most awesome things to do if you actually want to reclaim your life, because you spend so much time thinking about all the things you've got to do. When you've got these systems and habits in place and you do the same things, every day, every week, every month, great shit happens. Like genuinely really good stuff happens, like silly good stuff. And that's been, that's the thing. I've recently designed my own planner called the I Get Shit Done planner, based after everything I ever talk about. So that's something I've got together. We sold hundreds. It's on Amazon now. It's doing really, really well. And the whole concept, I was trying to, when I first designed it, because I've got my friends who have the Self Journal, which is one of the best planners, other than my own, obviously, that I would recommend. It's phenomenal. They put a lot of research into it. It addresses so many areas of your life. And it's a beautiful piece of kit. I mean, I love it. I've got a couple myself. Absolutely beautiful thing. But I found that, I come from a goal-setting, planning background in my corporate days. And I never used to see the value of, like the monthly goals, the quarterly goals, and the targets and stuff, because I thought, well, how can you say you're going to hit 500,000 or $1 million turnover here, and you have no idea what you're going to do? But then when you break it down into daily habits, let's just say make it simple, and doing them consistently. So back in my recruitment days, they say you have to do 100 calls a day, 1 mail out a week, 5 emails a day, and you just did that. And I realized as long as I just did that, I made a lot of money. And it's just been, for example, the planner and the system I use is one I've used, my 3-5 system for a long time now. And it just works for people like me. Like, I've got a busy head. And the problem with me is I get very excited very easy. And I know a lot of my entrepreneurial friends are, like I have been at points, a yes monster. As in, you just say yes to everything because you're excited and, we're very easy to sell to, aren't we?
No doubt.
No doubt. So what I wanted to do is just give it a period of time where I just did the same things over and over and over again. And surprise, surprise, everything's grown. Business, health, life, relationships, everything's got better by just doing a little bit every day. So the plan of the whole thing that I designed, it's not about hitting some, quarterly goal. And I'm a big fan, as I said, of the book, 12-Week Year. Obviously, Todd Herman's got some great stuff as well on his 90-day product. And this is all really good stuff, and it works for some people. It works for a lot of people, but there are people like me who can't. I mean, mate, you know me. We've worked together for what, a year plus now?
Yeah. I'm
all over the place, as in traveling and doing things, and it is hard for me to. It's actually something that I've looked into before. My dad has it. I may have got this wrong after. So if anyone's listening and they have this, or they've got someone who's a fit, I've got it wrong. I'm not doing it out of insult, but a slight dyspraxic sort of things where I can't see. So, for example, if you send me Calendly link, or you say, what are you doing on the 27th? I physically can't visualize that. Or if I see a column on a spreadsheet with, numbers and stuff, and columns, it just, you can hear my voice already. It confuses me. So I've had to come up with so that's it. So it's for me to think 90 days ahead or a year ahead, or like, what are your 1, 3, and 5 year goals? I don't fucking know. More of everything. And I have, the big idea, so I have the big vision, but I found that for me, the level of success I've achieved, and for a lot of other people, is consistent daily action. And if you know what the big goal is, you know what you're working towards, you're mentally tuned in to take actions that are going to take you towards it. And then off the back of that, you start to make decisions. As long as you're honest with yourself, there is a degree of discipline, being honest with this as well. But you start to do things that mean you make the right decisions, which then eventually, somehow, some point, turns into deals and revenue and improvements. And it could be, your business, it could be your health, it could be anything. But this consistent daily action is, again, it's not sexy. People want, I come from the fitness world. So people want, drop a dress size in 7 days, drop, 14 pounds in 28 days. There's all these challenges, yeah? It's always do this, body transformation in 12 weeks. And there's a lot in the business world as well. I mean, how many spammy programs have we seen like that? If my friends have got this who are legit, I'm sorry, they're kind of like my 6-figure 3-month formula. It's like, you don't get a 6-figure business in 3 months, you fucking tits. Or, 30 days to 5 figures. And I'm like, just stop. Bullshit. So I've realized that, obviously going back, and I do a lot of self-reflection and self-analysis. If I look at my journey, it's just been constantly moving forward. That's it. And how unsexy is that as a coaching package, for example?
Very unsexy. So I'm pinching myself here because I almost don't believe this is the same guy that I know.
Fuck off.
Kind of interesting because I live my life in so much structure. Wait, 2 questions. First is your planner available on Amazon? And if so, how do we find it?
Yeah, when it will be just literally if you put in my name on Amazon, Dan Meredith, you will find my planner as well as my book. So it's okay. You've got it on Amazon. It should be worldwide. We've done it as click to print, so it's a hardback planner. So nice and simple. Like, you know me, mate. I could have gone to the whole effort of buying them all, shipping them out, or fuck it, I'll pay someone else to do it. So we did that, and it's exactly the same result. So yes, obviously I make a little bit less profit, but quite frankly, I have no hassle. So I'm more than happy to do it. But yeah, so it's available there. But yeah, so that's that question. And question number 2, which I imagine is going to be a bit smart-assed. Come on.
Come on, Dan. Don't be that way. No. Question number 2, this structure that you've put in place, and from where you are or where you were before to where you are today, does it feel kind of like a prison, or what's it feel like to you?
No, it's because it's simple, mate. The thing is, it allows me as much off time as it does on time. So, had an opportunity a couple of weeks ago, very, very big, someone very, very connected in the online world, looks after several billion views of videos and content per month. So, someone who's pretty fucking good at what they do. Came up, we connected, because I knew that I have this structure, I know that I can, move things around to make things happen. So, yeah, I obviously consistently do my, 3 to 5 things a day, but I can just get up an hour earlier, or I can do it later. Do you know what I mean? It's like, as long as I do those things daily, and I'm a Monday to Sunday person, I enjoy work, I like working every day. It gives me peace in my crazy little brain, but it's nowhere near as structured. For example, it doesn't matter when I do them, it doesn't matter how I do them. It doesn't matter when, if I'm doing it traveling or sat at my desk at home. As long as it gets done, it doesn't matter. Wow. So it's actually a lot of freedom. So, for example, today I had a big call this morning at 9 o'clock. We're recording this lunchtime, my time, morning your time, and then I've got a webinar at 7 o'clock. Realistically, in between that, I've got 3 hours of downtime. So I can read a book, go on the beach, have some food, have a workout. It's actually quite relaxed, mate. But it's relaxed within a structure. So instead of having like this monstrous to-do list, I just break it down into simple daily things and do something every day. And most people, honestly, haven't got the, how can I put this, mental toughness, and I'd say that not in an insulting way, but just it does, or it can, grind you down, because there's a period when you're doing this, you're doing, the daily stuff, and nothing happens. So, for example, like social media is a big one. I've got this kind of called social media domination. It's basically a little program I put together which broke down how I did what I did online. So it's all organic. It works. The people that have followed it to the letter and just done every day without expecting results get results. The people that do it for 1 or 2 weeks, and you must know this from people you podcasted with before, don't get an immediate ROI from their efforts. They're like, fuck it doesn't work. And it's like, I'll just outlast people because I'm too dumb to stop.
Nice. Wow.
And yeah, and it's not a sexy thing, is it? I mean, consistency. I mean, that people want, the 30-day this, the 60-day that, the 90-day this, and great, those things do work to a degree. But I would rather just continually keep going and going and going. It's like that. I mean, Ryan Levesque, mutual friend of ours, how we met, obviously.
Yeah.
He gave me a book based on Kaizen, so the process of continuous improvement via small steps. And Ryan's one smart fucker. I mean, neuroscience, professor smart, ridiculously successful human being. There's got to be a point where you just think, do you know what? He's quite a bit smarter than me. I should probably listen. And I read that book. I bought that book, 3 years ago? And then it kind of, started to become more and more evident that this was, a thing. So I bought it again, reread it properly this time, and then that's just what I've applied, just the process of continual improvement, mate. There is no magic bullet. There is no, one-click system that is going to change your life. It's like anything, mate. If you want to get fitter, you slowly and surely over time increase your exercise. I mean, you've recently taken up drawing, art recently. And I was just, looking at your pictures the other day because I like to see what my friends are up to. And the improvement in you, and how long have you been doing it now?
This is week number 14.
How different are your drawings now compared to when you started?
It's interesting because that's exactly what Sean D'Souza talks about. He says in the beginning, he sets you up that it's not going to be huge improvements. It's going to be small incremental steps that make giant leaps in your output. So, yeah, they're a little bit better than they were in the beginning.
Yeah, and that's the thing, mate. And I've just applied that to areas in my life. So, for example, like my morning routine, obviously it consists of, right now I'm probably saying about 80% back to where my spine should be. Obviously years of heavy lifting and running into people at speed is not good for a body. But first time, I had my sort of PT/therapy session, I couldn't even touch my toes. I couldn't twist. I was a very kind of stiff, immobile sort of person. Now, touch my toes, no problem. Lower back pain's dissipated. My back's mobile. My neck doesn't hurt as much anymore. But that first session, mate, we're talking to Tega, who's my business partner. Talk about foam rolling, which is where you just, roll tight muscles over a little tube. I used to be like wanting to bite down on something. It was so painful when I started. Now, nothing. Because I've improved. But the first time, like anything, it sucks. First time you write copy, it's going to be able to be pretty shit. First time you do a live video or upload a video, it's not going to be very good. Your first infotaining email, not going to be very good. Listen to my first podcast. Listen to podcast number 1 compared to now. It's going to sound very different. The content's still going to be good, but the flow and the connection and how well me and you bounce off each other, we've improved over time. And it is that consistent action that I find is lacking from people who crave success and haven't got it yet. And that's what's missing. Unsexy as fuck, but I'm telling you, everyone I know who's made it in their niches, from business to fitness to health, whatever, it's consistent action. That's all it is. You just got to show up every day.
That's boring, Dan. Tell me something.
Sorry. Yeah, that is fucking boring, isn't it? But it's the kind of stuff no one really talks about. It needs to be said. Yeah. Not enough.
Yeah, and the people that do talk about it get shit on. Oh, whatever. I knew
exactly. But like you said, there's nothing against people who are selling, transformative programs, because I still talk about my kind of blast and cruise philosophy. So a period of focus on growth or learning or structure or systems, whatever, for a fixed period of time is still really powerful, because you're leveraging. I like to leverage social proof. Hey, I'm going to do this by this date. You got a deadline. So again, as much as I love the concept of continuous improvement, and it is a big part of my life now, I'll still have big, quarterly goals and yearly targets and, big things I want to achieve. But instead of beating myself up and trying to break that down into, weekly goals and then daily goals and just really just confusing yourself, it's like, right, there's the bit, like I said, this is what I used to do when I was in recruitment. My boss used to try and get me to day plan, to every 15 minutes. I'm serious. Wow. What I was going to do, who I was going to do. And he realized when he started doing that, my revenue dropped. And it got to the point where he went, you know what, Dan? Because you've obviously got talent. That's your target. I don't care how you get there. Just get there. And then as soon as he took that level of OTT structure off, I flew. So again, and I've realized as I look back through my whole career, look through the things that I have done, that having, 3, 4, 5 things to do each day with a lot of freedom, when and how I do them, is how I've achieved the things I've achieved.
Wow. So, Dan, we're getting ready to wrap up here. Anything you want to say in closing?
Yeah, I would say to you, look, goals, big ideas, big targets, time-bound plans, always going to be useful. And I'm not saying don't use them. They're powerful, but stop beating yourself up trying to get it all. Like, for example, if you want to drop 30 pounds, you're not going to do that in a week. If you want a business that turns over $250,000 a year, you're not going to do that in 60 days. So, setting targets that kind of push yourself, but don't try and beat yourself up into trying to, I have to do this micromanaged thing every day. Because if, you're listening to this and you are an entrepreneur, and most people I know who are entrepreneurial have a weird way of looking at things anyway. If I try and put you in a box, you're going to want to break out of it just out of principle. You've basically said to society, fuck you, I'm going to do it my own way anyway. So having, a little bit of structure with a lot of freedom, generally, I found, for those people who adopt it, gives them what they want.
Yeah, good stuff, Dan. I like that there's some flexibility built into it, so that makes it a whole lot easier. So what do you have coming up? Should I be afraid to ask this? What do you have coming up next time?
Well, the next one is kind of based off a book that I really read, really enjoyed lately, by a guy called Mark Manson, and it's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Now, not saying it just to be deliberately controversial, it's a phenomenal book, but that book inspired a lot of thoughts and changes and ideas in me, and it's the difference between not caring, not giving a fuck, and how you can apply that into your life.
I am looking forward to that. So another Death, Glory, or Disappointment show is in the can. We'll be back with you next time. Thanks for tuning in. You've been listening to Death, Glory, or Disappointment with Dan Meredith. If you enjoyed the show and you want more, then your next step is to go to iTunes right now and subscribe. And while you're there, give us a rating and review. It'll help us out a bunch, plus it'll bring you good karma.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.